Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture. First of all, let's just take a moment to mourn. It didn't come home, but that's okay because it's coming home in 2026. We can still live in hope, can't we? We can still hope. The thing that I do want to talk to you about though, I'm not gonna lie, we weren't sure if we wanted to discuss this or not. We weren't sure if we wanted to open this can of worms, but I think we need to get it off our chest, so I'm gonna go for it. So we've already kind of expressed some of our frustrations with the way that some things in the season finale were explained or not explained at all, such as the pointing at the sign, poor explanation, or no explanation at all for the fact that Ruby's mother was wearing this full-on cloak. Now, if this was just one occurrence, one mystery that fell flat, okay, I could probably make my peace with it, I probably could accept it. This one just didn't work out. But it does seem as though this approach is going to be the same for every mystery and question that we have in the show so far. So some of you may have seen that Russell T Davies has come out and said that all of the fourth wall breaking hasn't been explained, and actually it might not be explained because he doesn't feel the need. He also went on to say that they cut a scene with an explanation as to why everyone started to sing and dance at the end of the Devil's Court. Now this whole situation to me is a little problematic, and there's two major reasons for this. Firstly, fourth wall breaking, that's not a consistent feature of Doctor Who. Yes, it has happened a few times in Doctor Who, but that's not the case here. This entire era so far has seen way more fourth wall breaks and has been way more meta than we've ever seen before. Think about it, there's the whole cosplay Bridgerton element in Rogue, there's all this talk about Star Trek, which apparently now exists within the Whoniverse. You've got Maestro playing the Doctor Who theme tune within the context of the episode. You've got the Doctor talking about non-diegetic music in the Devil's Court. All of these very meta elements to these episodes. The fourth wall breaking in particular has kind of been set up to be kind of an ability that Mrs. Flood seems to possess. If she broke the fourth wall once at the end of the church on Ruby Road, then okay, fair enough, it was just a one-off bit of fun and we wouldn't think much more about it. But it's happened again and again and again, and when you add all of those meta moments together, then it's not unreasonable to want an explanation for them all. These are not normal things to appear in a Doctor Who episode, and so naturally we are speculating as to what they all mean. I mean, if you were new to Doctor Who and you came in with these episodes, you must have been so confused about what this show is. And I just want to say, if you are a new fan of Doctor Who and this is where you first joined the watching experience of Doctor Who, it's not always like this. These meta moments are a new addition that we're all equally as confused by. So some people have argued that Doctor Who has broken the fourth wall before, and that's not a lie, that is true, that has happened, but it's never been this consistent. And usually there is a reasonable explanation as to why it has happened. So let's take a look at some of the examples that we've seen previously of fourth wall breaking in the show. So we had the first Doctor wishing everyone a happy Christmas in the Daleks' master plan. That was a one-off special thing because it was Christmas Day, and so they thought it'd be nice for the Doctor to wish everyone happy birthday. Ellie, are you okay? Happy birthday! Happy Christmas. Then you have the fourth Doctor smiling at the camera right at the end of the Invasion of Time. Again, it was clearly just a one-off special thing, just for a little bit of fun. One time. So then jumping forward to modern Who, you have the 12th Doctor's bootstrap paradox speech in Before the Flood. Now we understand that this is nothing more than just a unique cold open, a way to explain the bootstrap paradox, and it was restricted to that cold open and didn't happen again for the rest of the episode. Then you do have 12 breaking the fourth wall again in Heaven Sent, but this time it happened when he was inside his kind of TARDIS mind palace, where the rules of reality don't apply, and so there was a justifiable reason as to why that happened in that particular moment and in that particular episode. So people might also point out Martha looking into the camera at the end of Journey's End, and also the 12th Doctor doing the same thing at the end of Deep Breath. But I would say that there is a big difference between a momentary glance towards the camera for dramatic effect and a full-on breaking of the fourth wall, looking directly down the camera and speaking to the audience. Now, every instance of fourth wall breaking that we've had in this new season has been unlike any of the ones that I've just previously described. These are not just a one-off little joke or a little bit of fun. It's not like it's just once or twice in an era of a Doctor. This has happened 4 or 5 clear times in a series that's only 8-9 episodes long. And quite honestly, I have no doubt that we'll probably have more to come as well, because we still haven't finished the exploration of the character of Mrs. Flood. We're literally just at the start of this era, so I think there'll definitely be more of these to come. Now, what's even more baffling about this entire situation is that Russell T Davies says that he does have an explanation for the fourth wall breaks. And in an early draft for The Star Beast, he had a scene written to explain it and then decided to cut it out. He also had a scene, like I mentioned, explaining why everybody suddenly burst into song and dance at the end of The Devil's Court, and again, decided to leave it out. Now, the fact that he actually did have scenes written to explain these things tells me that we actually do need an explanation for them, and he knows that we need an explanation for them, otherwise why would he have written the explanation in the first place? Clearly he knew that this is something different for the show and that fans would want some sort of fun explanation or exploration of what this means. Why write it otherwise? So when did the decision come to suddenly go, nah, I don't think that's necessary anymore? Clearly you thought it was necessary at some point, otherwise you wouldn't have written it. Also, the Star Beast being the episode to explain the fourth wall breaks, that confuses me even more. Where in that episode would it have worked to have a scene explaining the breaking of the fourth wall? Mrs. Flood wasn't in that episode. We didn't meet her until the church on Ruby Road. My understanding of it was that it was something to do with the salt in Wild Blue Yonder, but the Star Beast was before Wild Blue Yonder. And the only part of that episode where I feel like it might have fit was in that weird recap thing we had at the beginning, which I wasn't a big fan of. But of all the episodes for that explanation to have been in a draft of, that is not the one that I expected it to be. And that just opens even more questions. But beyond that, I think it wouldn't have been difficult to give an explanation for this. Not in the Star Beast, I mean just in general. All it takes is the Doctor noticing that suddenly there's lots of breaking of the fourth wall, and then make a comment about how casting the salt at the edge of the universe broke down the walls of reality. There you go. I mean, I'm not being funny, right, but we've all been speculating as fans ever since this first started happening about what has caused it. So even if you don't have an answer, Russell, check Twitter, because we fans have come up with plenty of decent ones for you. Now, the second reason that I find this problematic is that it kind of speaks to that, oh, well, it's only Doctor Who kind of attitude. And I think this show really deserves to be taken a little bit more seriously than that. If you approach any kind of show with the mindset of, well, I don't need to explain this or this or this, it just happens, all you're going to end up doing is frustrating your audience and kind of turning the show into a joke. You know, when I go into a show, I want to feel like you've got a clear plan and a clear understanding and a clear vision of where this show is going, not that you're just doing things for the sake of it, you know? And at the moment, it feels a little bit like that's what Russell's doing. Mavity. No reason, just because. It's a fun little gag and, you know, I get what you're trying to do. It's kind of funny. Fair enough. Fourth wall breaks. No reason, just because. Random singing. You guessed it, no reason, just because. It feels almost as though Russell is prioritizing kind of getting people talking on social media as opposed to creating a really great, thought-provoking story. And I don't think that's really the way you should be going. Your first priority, your top priority should be writing the best possible story you can. And everything else should be secondary to that. And at the moment, it does feel very much like he's more focused on teasing the fans and stringing the fans along or throwing in these red herrings than focusing on the story. That is worrying, not gonna lie. Now, all that being said, we do know that Russell has a 2-season plan for the show. So for all we know, Season 2 could incorporate all of these mysteries and all of these characters and give us all the answers we want. And the thing is as well, like I said, he does have explanations for these things. He has an explanation for the fourth wall break in The Star Beast, but it was cut. An explanation for the singing, but it was cut. So I guess he does have some answers. I mean, who knows? Maybe those explanations that were intended to be in The Star Beast or The Devil's Court might be rejigged and incorporated into Season 2 somehow. I don't know. And at the end of Season 2, we might look back at this video and go, well, maybe we overreacted a little bit. Maybe we jumped the gun. And it might age really badly, like my last video when I said it was coming home.
Pain. Pain.
So what I'm saying basically is it could all come together in the end, but right now I'm in a position where I feel a little bit dejected, a little bit let down, and a little bit concerned about what Russell's plan is going forward, or if he even has one, because at the moment it seems like maybe his focus is on the wrong thing. All we can say is please stop introducing random, unusual things and having no intentions of giving us any sort of explanation for them. Please and thank you. Anywho, let's end on a positive note because we are still very intrigued by the mystery of Mrs. Flood. We do have a video with a lot of theories about who Mrs. Flood might be, and in that video we have a great explanation for what we think the fourth wall breaks might be and why they're happening, so go check that out. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.